Hello friends, family and other creatures of the sea, and welcome back to a high-level best of 3 between Reynor and Hero Marine from the most recent Home Story Cup 26. This series was played in the group stage. You see first map being Whispers of Gold. One of the greatest whispers you can hear. Some decent Reaper control, doesn't get anything done though. Forces a single spore. A little bit of mining time lost there, right, on that drone. As well as, you're losing some money on that cancel. Now we get the dance with the first tumor. Ooh. Let's get the grenade down. Hits the queen and the tumor, but Reaper just doesn't get in range there to actually snipe it. So decent start here for Reynor, who doesn't really lose a whole lot. Now Hero Marine is someone that, when talking to him, always will tell you that he's someone that's extremely focused on the first, honestly, 2 to 8 minutes in the game, maybe 2 to 10 minutes. He's really keen on finishing games before they get to the late game stage, and he has many ways of doing that. He loves the 8 racks in particular, so 8 racks, no forward base, and we've seen him play mech in the past as well to kind of, I'm not even sure if you can really talk about late game when he plays mech, because he tends to be quite aggressive with his mech play. We'll see what he's going to be doing here today. We have a tech lab coming up right next to a starport that already feels kind of, feels kind of benchy-ish, if you ask me. Double gas in the main as well, as the third command center has gone down in the main too. So it's triple CC, heli and benchy, a very standard build order an order of buildings, and the opener is pretty standard. It's gonna go for a single benchy. I'm expecting cloak here. Ooh, he's even adding in a marine. Marine could just be for scout denial. We already have one. There's going to be a second. Just be kind of running around here, trying to clear this Overlord. But I mean, Overlord's just coming in. It's gonna get the full scout, see, hey, what's going on over here? And we'll figure out what this is exactly. I'm surprised Reynor's gonna commit here. I guess he really wants to see the third CC. He's just gonna give up this Overlord. Felt like that could have been preserved for, well, eternity. Or at least until a Viking pops out. It's a waste of 100 minerals. Does scout the tech lab here. And this is 6 Hellions into 2 extra barracks. So relatively quick transition here. We've seen 8 Hellions in the past. We've seen 10 Hellions in the past. That's not what's happening here. Hero Marine is just going to get one of these creep tumors. Knock it down. But Reynor with a solid queen split. He's not planning on taking a whole lot of damage. 2 queens on one side, 3 queens on the other. Double E-base coming out behind it. This is the standard setup that most Terrans are going for these days. 3 racks into 2 E-base, into 2 more racks eventually. We see the third base flying over. Hero Marine hasn't really been capable of doing a whole lot with these Hellions though. And where we see players like Clem pretty consistently just kind of run by and go in, Hero Marine seems content, just keeping them alive. Here's gonna get a fat scan if he wants to. He's not gonna send it though. That was a very odd move because he committed heavily, deeply onto the creep, but doesn't really achieve anything with it except just take a bit of a risk. Now he's once again trying to go maybe for a run by. How many links do we have behind us? There's only 12. With 6 Hellions, maybe you can do something. It really depends on the link control, on where the queens, find themselves exactly in that type of situation when a run by occurs. Triple depots now coming by, as barracks 4 and 5 are about to complete too. Hellions are just gonna stay at home, so he kind of wants to keep that as an anti-run by squad. Reynor is only on 60 drones at this point, which is fairly low. Does not have a fort base either. Just now 6 minutes and 20 seconds in, gonna take his fort. Is already on 4 gases and is adding in a second Evo chamber after starting his +1 range. We have an infestation pit coming in too, a couple of roaches, as well as the queens once again are pushing these Hellions away. These Hellions, they kind of alternate between the two. Where the hell did the Banshees go, by the way? I haven't really seen them do much. They got 1 kill total. He just used them completely defensively. Hasn't achieved anything here with the Banshees or the Hellions. Just content staying at home. This is very rare for Terran players. They love dealing a bit of damage, and no damage has been dealt. As a result, creep spread is pretty far out. We are going to be seeing, though, a full-on Marine tank push here, hitting at 7 minutes into the game. Double Banshee at home to deal with the Ling run by. Hellions could turn perhaps into Hellbats once this armory finishes up. Where's that armory of yours? Now, yeah, they're on the right side. As the 3 extra Rex do get added in. And this is what I was talking about earlier. We're going to see an 8 Rex here coming out of Hero Marine. Hero Marine, well known for this. He mentions it himself as well often. It's like he 8 Rexes practically every single game. With honestly a great success rate too. Makes it funnier to me. Okay, 1-1 finished up. 2-2 should start shortly as he's up about 10 supply already. Gets a double drop into the main base. We now have the Hellion run by going towards the top side. I hope this is just for creep and it's not going to be an actual commitment here into this base. I don't believe he's going to be capable of dealing a whole lot of damage. Lynx are in position as well. Queen's now moving in forward. 5 workers going down. Can he get a couple more? 7 workers for 6 Hellions. That is not a trade that I would like to take if I am the Terran player in this case. Hellbats, of course, can be still very useful in pushes later on. Could have perhaps just cleared some creep with that secondary army. For now, though, tank staying alive, marine count is growing, and despite this being a roach setup here, going into banelings afterwards, we still see just pure marine. Sometimes when there's a roach setup, we actually see 3 extra tech labs being added here quickly, and then going for like a marine marauder tank push. So using those marauders to try and clear as many of the roaches. However, Hero Marine, I think, read this correctly and says, hey, I believe you're still going to go into banelings eventually. This does not feel like a roach hydra viper type of setup. What the hell is Reynor doing here? He is way out of line. He is not allowed to be on this side of the map currently. He needs to be on the defense. I guess what he wants to do is delay a move out, and it is understandable because he needs a lot of time for this one Viper to come out. 30 seconds until the Viper is out, and then a lot more seconds to consume some energy. You have a bunch of Banelings now being morphed as well, but there is no Baneling speed. These tanks are sieging up, and Reynor, I'm not sure if he's in a world of trouble or if he's just freaking dead. He does not have a standing army here whatsoever, as this Terran Force is just going to stim forward, and honestly, just going to snipe every single Overlord that has ever existed. He walks across the map. He says, hey, this was a really fun game, but it would be best for both of us if it ends right about now. More Banelings are moving in forward. We have 3 tanks. This is fully on creep, by the way. So Hero Marine here picking speed over, you know, safely, slowly pushing forward. Has another push coming out towards the left side. This is without Medivacs, by the way. Just pure, naked, empty Marines. He's going to transfer the Medivacs over to that side. He's going to clear a lot more workers here, as well as a Queen. And I don't actually think Reynor has enough to deal with this. There's also no extra upgrades on the way for the Zerg here. That means once 2-2 finishes, this game is uber over. And honestly, it already kind of is uber over. Viper shows up, is going to cast a parasitic bomb here on this Medivac. And I need 3 more Banes to just get some decent hits, surprisingly so. GG's gets called as a Hero Marine takes map number 1. A phenomenal game number 1 here out of Hero Marine, who takes home the victory there in game number 1. It's surreal to me that works. It's such an aggressive strategy where it would feel to me like you'd need to deal a little bit of damage in the early game, but apparently it's completely fine for Terrans to just kind of, you know, hang around with the Hellions and the Banshees. I don't even think he cleared a creep tumor. Like, I understand that Triple CC is also an opener that technically, you know, it allows you to stay somewhat even with Zerg on the, you know, in the economy, but man, maybe Reynor just wasn't greedy enough early on. It did feel like his fort base was very late, not entirely on point there, perhaps. Yes, ooh, look at this. Reynor switching it up big time over here as he opts for a gasless opener. That means that he's going to struggle a little bit with some of these potential Reaper Hellion harass. But at the same time, this is a really easy map to hold stuff on. You also have the ability to wall this area. That means that often there's only going to be a single entrance. And single entrance is relatively easy to hold, of course, for Zerg players. Because they have the queens, they can kind of park them in there. King's Cove has been the map that, out of the 3 new old maps, has been my favorite. But I still don't like it quite as much. It's a map that tends to provide pretty campy games early on, and the reason for that is rather obvious. The first 3 bases are so extremely safe, it's almost impossible to attack into for any race, really. This Reaper just runs in, gets a couple of shots off there on a drone, and pisses off again. Just gonna stand in between the bases here and see what else he can do. You have triple command centers coming down once more here for Hero Marine. As they say, never change a winning team, and I don't think Hero Marine is quite looking to do that. We'll move forward a little bit, move back, move forward and back. Overlord's already making the pass into the main base area, where later he will want to, gather a bit of information. Third base is about halfway done. We now have our first gas on the way in the natural. So Reynor just planning on rallying into this eventually, as we see Queens move back and forth. And Reaper should have figured out what this is. That this is some type of gasless opener. This was completely without links as well. So far a very clean early game. And now Hero Marine for sure is going to get the confirmation here. Sees the lack of speed research on the pool. Saw no drones here and no extractor here. And saw no drones in this area. Didn't quite get the scout on the extractor. Still in the dark. Still some interesting information though. And I wonder if this is going to change the way he handles the Hellions. He uses the Hellions. Majority of the time when we see Zerg players play, they love getting roaches after they open up with a gasless start. And the reason for that is because it's kind of hard to quickly transition into speed links for defense. It's much safer instead to go for roaches. You have like 3-4 roaches, you're actually relatively safe. That is about as expensive as speed is. So at least gas-wise it is. So you have your later gas, you have a lot of minerals, just invest a bit of that into those roaches and you're going to be just fine. Still completely without units is Reynor, by the way. 5 queens. I guess they count as units. 50 workers already. Don't forget, last game he was 63 or 64 workers. 6 minutes and 15 seconds into the game. We're now 4 minutes and 30 seconds into the game. And he's already at 52. Just going to fully saturate, I think, 3 bases, at least on minerals. Really freaking early on into the game. As we now have 4 roaches coming out. I'm expecting a quick 4th here as well. Ooh, we have double gases coming out of Hero Marine, who is going to follow this up with Mech. This is fake bio, and I think that Reynor should be aware of this at some point, or should become aware of this. Like, double factories need to come down right about now. Fakes the stim out of vision of the Overlord. That is a very interesting play that I haven't seen before, but this is absolute mech. Like, I'm not doubting my call here. Double gases before the barracks is just not a thing. We also are not seeing any E-base quite yet. We now have a 3rd Banshee on the way for, in case you really didn't buy it quite yet. Hyperflight rotors are starting. And here we go. Factories are being thrown down. We have 60 drone roach though. And this was with basically a super boosted eco. Because the early game was as uneventful as humanly possible here. And that was definitely a good thing for Reynor, who I don't think built a single unit before like 55 drones or so. Just some queens, but no real interruptions in the drone production. Here come a bunch of Hellions. They want to go for a run by, but Roach is in position. I don't think you can do this. What a ridiculous proposition there. Trying to run headfirst through those roaches is... Yeah, this is not legit. It is just not legit. Spore here is well positioned to deal with these Banshees. Banshees are still gonna fly in. They're not gonna get the damage that they wanted. We see these factories now finishing up. There's no second tech lab being built by the barracks. We're gonna get a couple of tanks out. So it's not even going to be Cyclone mech here. It's just going to be Banshee tank. I actually think that he wanted to play Cyclone mech, but instead went for the tank because he's deadly afraid right now of dying. He has achieved nothing in the first 6 minutes and 30 seconds. His Banshees are just idling here as well. Reynor just a much better first 7 minutes or so than his opponent. Fort CC is about done. Fort Hatch is also done, but don't forget, this is pretty freaking all-in coming out of Reynor. This Fort Hatch is just for show. Absolute show model there. Guys, they have no upgrades. This was a fake eco chamber as well. Oh, he's going 0-0 upgrades. Roach, Queen drop. With the pneumatized carapace. Let's see how that's gonna work out here. I mean, given the fact that there are no units, I feel like this might just work out relatively well. We have 2 tanks. 2 Banshees. I'm surprised to see the depot wall going all the way to the top rather than here to the right. The wall of this area. That's gonna allow these roaches to just kind of barge up on here. Tanks aren't even sieged up. Banshees are in position, but this is such a ridiculous game. 4 Banshees are out with the speed, but Queens now come in as well. Can we get some transfuses? Misses 1. There's an Overseer nearby. GG gets called, and once again a very short game, but this time in favor of Reynor. Game 3 will be played on Amygdala, the map with the tentacled rocks, as this Reaper is... He's going to miss the 6 Ling run by. This is actually really painful. Isn't this just game over then? This is a serious Ling investment out of Hero Marine. He's gonna have to send the Reaper back home. Instead, it's probably gonna lose to the Queen if he ain't careful. 2 Lings clear 1 SCV here. The Lings in the main base are trying to clear this Marine, but honestly, Hero Marine doing an okay job at defending this. He's gonna throw down the 3rd CC right in vision of his opponent. These bad boys are still going. I wonder if he would have been capable of killing this CC had he just continued attacking it. This Marine is going to end up dying, so that's something at least. So the score here is -6 Lings. Serious delay on the 2nd command center. As well as minus a Marine. And an SCV. I feel like... Ooh, they have Roach attack? Really? I was gonna say, I feel like this is okay for Reynor, but not brilliant. Ideally, you want to deal a little bit more SCV damage, but a Roach attack on this map. This feels like a map with a very long rush distance. I haven't actually checked the rush distance on this map, but I'm positive that it is quite long. I guess the really cool thing here is that it's so easy to hide the Roaches because they can go 2 ways, right? And there's no like intermediary rotation, kind of like in the middle where the Terran can be with his units and go to the left and sometimes go to the right. No, they can't. So they pick a side. Oh my god, these Hellions are accidentally gonna spot it. That is so unfortunate here for Reynor. That is so unfortunate. He's gonna try to clear at least one of these Hellions. The rest of them will run by. This is for 2 reasons. 1, Hellions aren't very useful in the defense. And 2, you get to see whether there's a Ling follow-up or if it's just going to be pure Roaches. In this case, he saw drones come out and now he knows, okay, it's just going to be drones behind it. So all you really need to do is build a bunker. If you get your bunker to complete, you should be fine. Usually we actually see it on the high ground rather than the low ground. So this is somewhat surprising to me. This SCV is actually not going to make it either. We have 2 more Hellions now running in forward as the Evo Chamber wall is not in time. These extra Evo Chamber blocks are also not good enough. Hero Marine is going to get in here with the cars. He's going to slice a lot of he's going to burn a lot of these drones. At the same time, though, he's knocking on the door of his opponent. Banshee now pops out. Should probably try to target the Ravager first. And, of course, the highest damage output against buildings. And with the Bile can definitely help out here as well. Oh, this Banshee already took quite a bit of damage against Biles. As now we get a full-on SCV surround. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 workers end up going down here. Maybe can go for a little bit higher number still. Okay, 12 workers end up falling. But Reynor doesn't even have a 3rd base yet. We're already triple CC, Mule, for Hero Marine. Let's see if he's going to go for mech here or if his plan is going to be bio. This is starting to feel... Wait, what is this? Yeah, I was going to say, this makes no sense. Yeah, it's going to be bio. You never land a barracks on a reactor like that. Because you want to start your stim ASAP. I've never seen that. He's gonna, once again, shoot these in like a rocket once more, see if we can get any damage down here. And absolutely he can. Even though it's not a lot, these Hellions against Roaches are completely useless. So what you do is you kind of suicide them in, you hope you get any damage. And dealt a bit of indirect damage when it came to the mining time, and dealt a little bit of direct damage when it comes to killing 4 more drones. Reaper's also gonna be sent in. Is gonna end up falling here to this little Roach flank. Well done by Reynor, who is not in a great spot. Layers on the way. Circling speed is on the way as well. We have the double E-base that are about to finish up. And we now are going to have some tanks on the way here too for the blue Terran player. Honestly, just a phenomenal position here for Hero Marine. Absolutely phenomenal. I really wonder what Reynor's reply is going to be to an early game like this. I wouldn't mind it if we see a very heavy Roach focus, kind of into quick infestation pit, maybe a couple of infestors in there early as well. That is how Dark would do it. And I think Dark genuinely is one of the greatest players when it comes to making comebacks, not just in Zerg versus Terran, but in every matchup. He just understands what needs to be done if you're not in a perfect spot. I often feel like the Europeans are really good to kind of get into a perfect spot. Like, you're looking at your Serals and your Reynors, they have like insane early games. And they kind of have this early game advantage, and then they launch themselves into a successful mid game. And from the successful mid game into a successful late game. You know, they kind of are set up in life already. You know, they have the rich daddy from the early game. Dark, however, you know, he pulled himself up from the bootstraps every single game, you know, because his early games are often so bad. And I feel like it can be quite instructive to see how he gets back into games. And I feel like often with a bad early game, we see him go into those infestors. We see him go into these heavy roach ravager numbers, and then eventually going into Hydra Lurker. And he just loves playing with that, and he's freaking good with it too. Reynor here, going for a very similar approach to game number 1. Game number 1 had a better early game, and then he died. So I'm really curious to see if with a worse early game, he's also gonna die. Or if he, you know, maybe because this map is a little bit easier to defend on, it's going to be just fine. Hero Marine is picking the same strategy as in game 1. It's going to be that classic Hero Marine 8 racks of 66 workers. He's on 5 gases, and that apparently is enough to afford all of his, well, I guess not so expensive gas habits, if you can do it on 5 gas. Fort base now going down for Reynor, so we have the double drop heading in towards the natural. There's a spore in a semi-decent position. If this Evo chamber gets killed, I don't think it matters too much. I thought it was the infestation group, but the hive's already 80% done. Okay, we're gonna actually see an infestor. I think this is a really good call. I'm loving the fast hive here as well. Could allow him to get those vipers, and you have the infestor to kind of keep you alive until the vipers come out, and the vipers are gonna be such a key unit. Roach count is still fairly high. Once again, I'm not entirely sure about the banelings. The thing with Ling Bane is that majority of the time you're not going to be having the greatest trades. You're going to have pretty poor trades, actually, majority of the time, when it comes to resources lost. So you need very good eco behind it. Reynor right now has a lot of things, but he doesn't have very good eco. He's actually he's actually quite down in eco, way down in eco. 64 workers against 66. Hero Marine also has the mules that have landed. And here we go. Ravager, Infestor. Poof! Fat hit right there in the middle of this force. It's not going to clear a whole lot, but will force this back. And now we need to reset some of the creep. Actually, one creep tumor is still here. Hero Marine not doing a good job kind of destroying that ahead of his big push. It's going to walk through the middle of the map now. It's going to allow him to honestly kill this base. And maybe continue from there on out, take out these rocks. It's hard to say exactly what Hero Marine's plan is going to be. There's 4 medevacs here on the bottom side with a crap ton of Marines. They have quite some threat to them. Could also still move into the main base if they really want to. There we go. Picks up and pisses off. First Ultra is now on the way out. Chitinous plating is 20 out of the 80 seconds done. It's like 25%. Spore's gonna pack quite a punch here. We don't have adrenal glands quite yet. That means that these links are gonna get slaughtered by the Marines. Banelings, Roaches and Ravagers will need to be you know, the tools that Reynor used to clean this up. But honestly, Hero Marine's already in his phase over here. Fort base under heavy fire. +2 carapace here is going to get cancelled as well. And these Marines are still active in the main base too. 1600 minerals in the bank right now for Hero Marine. Could definitely try to throw down a couple of CCs, but I don't think he really wants to. He's just going to take this fight head on with the tanks to back him up. One more Ultra pops out. Target fire on that is good. Banshees are going to clear it, so will the tanks. And now these Ravagers are the only thing that's left remaining. This was a fight on 1-1. Now the 2-2 finishes up, and GG gets called before it really gets into play. And honestly, 3 extremely short, aggressive games here. We see Hero Marine with a 2-1 victory, which is not a result that a lot of people perhaps would have expected. I think Reynor generally favored against Hero Marine, but not today. Hero Marine takes the series 2-1 with some fast and aggressive play. That's going to be it for me today. I hope you all did enjoy this. If you did, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel. I'll see all of you next time for a new video. Bye bye.